ECHO TV is a co-production of Minnesota's Emergency and Community Health Outreach Collaborative of health, safety, ethnic and nonprofit agencies, and TPT's Minnesota channel.
Hello and welcome to ECHO. I'm your host, Lillian McDonald. ECHO stands for Emergency and Community Health Outreach, and we bring you this program in multiple languages featuring health and safety information. Our topic this time is all about severe weather and how to take care of yourself and your family should severe weather be near you. We have a guest to talk about this topic, but first we'd like you to watch this.
Tornadoes, floods, and strong, dangerous storms occur in every part of Minnesota. Dangerous weather can be life-threatening, and survival depends on awareness and quick action. First, know what kind of weather might threaten your neighborhood. Your preparation and response may be different for each situation. You can sometimes tell that severe weather is coming in your direction. Some signs of severe weather are big dark clouds, extremely hot and humid air, and shifting winds or complete stillness. The presence of hail can create a green color in the sky. In addition to watching the weather outdoors, listen to weather reports on television and radio, and know the difference between a severe weather watch and a severe weather warning. A watch means that weather conditions are right for the development of tornadoes, high winds, lightning, heavy rain, and hail. A warning means that there is severe weather in your area and you must take shelter immediately. You also need to know the name of your county because the National Weather Service names the counties that are affected by weather watches and warnings. Often, severe weather arrives very quickly. Planning ahead is one part of survival, but reacting calmly and correctly is important too. Before severe weather strikes, designate one room or area in your home as the safe place. When high wind or tornadoes threaten, the safest place is in a basement. If you don't have a basement, an interior room on the lowest floor, away from windows and outside doors, is best. Turn on a television or radio and find out what the threat is and where. Go to the safe place you have chosen in your home. Take a battery-operated radio, a flashlight, and extra batteries. Most cities and counties have siren systems to tell you when threatening weather approaches. When you hear warning sirens, go inside a house or building. If you are outside or in your car and there is no building nearby to provide shelter, run to a ditch or a place where the ground is low and lie flat. If a flood occurs, travel to high ground as fast as possible. If your car is surrounded by water, get out and walk uphill. Stay away from floodwater. It hides many dangers, and the currents of flowing water may cause you to fall and drown. Don't return to your home until floodwater is gone. Any storm can create lightning that hits the ground. It can strike without warning, anywhere, anytime. If you are outside during a storm, avoid trees, poles, and other tall structures. Stay near the ground, sit on your heels, and cover your head. After a tornado, flood, or dangerous storm, buildings may be damaged, and there may be trees and power lines on the ground. Stay away from these areas until repairs have been made. If your community is badly damaged, you will hear instructions on television and radio or in newspapers about how to get help. For more information on survival in severe weather, call the Red Cross, your local police station, or local fire department. Your survival may depend on the decisions you make right now, so decide to be aware, be prepared, and be ready to respond when severe weather strikes.
Welcome back. You're watching ECHO, Emergency and Community Health Outreach. I'm your host, Lillian McDonald. Our topic this time is on severe weather, and joining us to talk about severe weather is Courtney Johnson from the American Red Cross. Thanks so much for joining us, Courtney. We
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
me.
You bet. I know the Red Cross is very active when it comes to the recovery of severe weather situations. But before we talk about that, let's identify just exactly what we mean by severe weather.
Right. There are three main types of severe weather that you can experience in the spring and summer months. The first is flooding, and that can be everything from snowmelt in the early spring to flash floods caused by storms in the summer. There also can be severe weather such as tornadic activity and high winds, and those are dangerous. Tornadoes can be strong winds that can demolish a house. It can demolish anything in its path.
Take out a whole neighborhood. Yep.
Right. There can also be dangerous straight line winds, which aren't quite as strong as a tornado or classified in the same way that a tornado may be, but they can do just as much damage. The other severe weather situation is lightning, which is electrical activity from the clouds to the ground, and if a person is struck by lightning, that can be sometimes fatal.
And severe weather we're talking about mostly spring and summer season in this case. Of course, there's severe weather in the wintertime as well with snowstorms. But we're talking about tornadoes and the flooding and the high winds or lightning. This pops up without warning sometimes.
Right.
I mean, you need to be aware of your own surroundings in addition to following the direction of health and safety officials.
Right. As with everything, you need to be aware of your surroundings. There are some signs for severe weather. If you're outside, playing outside or hanging outside, going for a walk, if you just notice that the clouds are getting real dark, you can oftentimes see a storm system moving in. So when the clouds get real dark, if there are shifting winds, the days where it's really hot and humid in the summer, and then there's going to be a temperature change later on that evening, you can almost bet that there's going to be severe weather, because when the two air masses meet, there's conflict and they cause severe weather. Also during severe weather season, during the spring and summer, you should always be listening to your radio or watching TV, because the meteorologists are real good about letting you know, first of all, if there's going to be a chance, if they're predicting severe weather later on in that day, and then when it becomes that time, if there's a watch or warning issued for your area. And then the other thing that you need to watch out for is lightning. Lightning can be very dangerous, and it can also come without much warning. So if you see the conditions, the dark clouds, the dark skies, you need to really watch out for lightning. So that means...
With a change of color in the sky too then?
The change of color, that's correct. You also want to just make sure you kind of move inside if you can. If you're out on a boat, you want to get your boat off the water and come inside.
Okay. There's sirens that warn us and give us the high signs so we can get out of the neighborhood or seek some safety. And most communities have sirens set up. This is a system that we have developed so that we can at least have a chance out there if we're caught off guard when the weather moves in. Tell us a little bit about the sirens they use in the communities, who activates them, and how do we keep them up to speed?
Right. When the conditions are right, law enforcement, police and fire departments will, as well as the National Weather Service, will activate those sirens. And those go off so that the people who are outside can know that the conditions are dangerous. They're meant to get the people who are outside back inside and into safety. The sirens are generally tested about once a month, and they're tested around lunchtime when the weather is clear, just so that you can make sure that they're working, that everything's in an operating order. And then again, if for whatever reason you are outdoors when you hear these sirens, you should immediately head inside and seek cover.
And these are intended only as a weather warning siren system, right? So when the siren goes off, how much time do we have?
Generally, if the siren goes off in your area, that means that weather is spotted in a close enough vicinity that the law enforcement officials are concerned. So you should act like it's a very urgent situation, because you don't have too much time to dilly-dally.
As I know, a lot of folks will, they hear the siren, they go, oh, it's just the siren. Well, what does that mean? Or they'll stop and they'll look around and say, where is it? And if they hadn't heard anything about it, is it for real? But by the time somebody activates it, it's gone through a process, a system of alerting before the message is delivered into communities. The terms watch and warning come up all the time, and broadcasters use these terms. Radio, television, they say, this is how to heads up, pay attention to a watch and a warning.
Right.
What's the difference between the two, and what are they talking about exactly?
There's a very significant difference between the two, so that's why it's so important to know the difference. A watch means that conditions are right, and generally when meteorologists put out a watch, that means it will be a longer period. So it could be a period of, an afternoon. Warnings tend to be a little bit more specific. A warning means that there is weather in your area. People have seen it. There's very clear evidence that the weather is actually in your area, and that means that you should seek shelter immediately. As soon as you hear a warning, you need to get into the appropriate place to take cover with your family. For the watches and warnings, they are issued by county, so it's really important that you know what county you're in right now. You know, as long as you're familiar with the area, if you hear that there's a warning in Hennepin County and you're in Ramsey County, you'll be okay. You know, if it's not your county, you need not worry about it. Although the weather could be moving in your direction, so you want to keep your ears.
And this would be challenging for visitors to the area who might not really realize what county I'm in. I mean, if I'm traveling through the state of Minnesota, or any state for that matter, and I'm not sure what county I'm in, but I hear it on the radio, how am I going to know?
Right. If you're not familiar with your area, it's always good to know before you're traveling, but you can find that kind of information on maps. You know, sometimes there are information numbers, or as you're driving around the city, sometimes there'll be indicators such as signs on buildings or the post office or that kind of thing. But it's good to do a little research before you go somewhere you might be unfamiliar in severe weather season.
Especially if you're out camping, or if you're out hiking or something in an area like that, and you're, again, truly caught off guard. Probably need to have a weather radio with you so that you can keep track of that if you're out in a campgrounds or in a tent somewhere when you hear watch or warning in the area. And I know some campgrounds will have you know, leaders out there that'll go out and survey the areas to let people know. But if you're truly on your own, then you need to at least know what the signs are and know what the symbols mean, watch and warning, so that you can prepare yourself accordingly. You know, this is always up for debate. Where do I go in the house if by some chance the siren does go off? Where should I go in my home to seek safety and shelter?
Right. The safest place you can go is your basement, and you want to stay in the interior part of your basement. A lot of homes in this area, if you live in an apartment building, there aren't necessarily basements available for the residents. In that case, what you want to go is to the innermost room on the lowest floor possible, and this should be a room like a bathroom, possibly a closet, someplace that doesn't have windows, because one of the big dangers is if a storm was to come through, breaking glass, and you wouldn't want that to come in and hurt or cut any members of your family, so you need to keep that in mind. If you are caught outside and you can't seek shelter, what you want to do is you want to lay flat in a ditch somewhere, because that ditch will provide a little bit of protection from the storm and the weather. And then if you have children who are school-aged, you should check with the schools about their emergency plans so that your children know where to go in case something would happen while they're at school.
And that's the challenging component when you're not with your children because they're at school and you're at work and the storm hits. You both need to stay put in your respective places, and you might not have communication together.
Right.
So it's good to know what the plan is. Trailer courts or places like this, they have some shelters built into those neighborhood areas. And then there's some identified shelters, aren't there, in cities and counties that people can take advantage of if need be?
Yep, there are.
Okay.
That's all part of everybody's emergency plan, be it in the trailer courts or in the cities.
Okay. What about flooding? How do we prepare for floods and the dangers of flooding?
You know, flooding can be really dangerous, and I don't think many people really realize the dangers, but they can be dangerous because they come upon rather quickly. It can rain, especially if you live close to a creek or a river. Those bodies of water can swell with just a few inches of rain and become completely out of their banks and very dangerous. Flooding can trap people in your houses if you live in a low-lying area. So it's important that if you are warned to leave your house, that you don't mess around with something like that. You've got to leave just as soon as you're told to do so. And then finally, oftentimes, if you are out driving or if you're leaving your home after you've been warned of the flooding threat, it's important that you never drive through rising water. If you can't see the road, you don't want to be driving through it, because it can only take just a few inches of water before it can actually physically lift and move your car downstream and take it with the water.
We think a car is pretty weighted down, but it really isn't. And at night, it's really hard to see the road, so you can't really see if the water's going over it. So if you can avoid driving at all at night during flooded times, do so. Even though the severe weather, let's say it's all past, and the neighborhood is clear, but it still might not be safe from debris or for some other activity. Talk a little bit about ways we should protect ourselves after the storm has passed and the damage is being surveyed.
Right, like you said, it's always good to get the okay from law enforcement or some other authority after you leave your house, you know, before you go kind of exploring around the neighborhood to check out the damage. There can be debris that's dangerous or unstable. There can also be power lines that have fallen during the storm that may still be live and are very dangerous if you get pretty much anywhere near them. And also, floodwater can carry debris, water, garbage, even sometimes raw sewage, which is pretty nasty, into your home. So you need to be careful in dealing with the aftermath of this storm.
I know that the Red Cross is very active in preaching the campaign of the best way to prepare for any emergency is to make a plan and make a kit. Can you talk a little bit about those two items?
Absolutely. Make a plan means know how to get out of your home. Or have a plan for your family. So that's getting out of your home if there's a house fire. In this case, where it's applicable would be to get your family into the basement, and how are you going to do that, and where are you going to meet, what portion of the basement, make sure everybody gets there. And then, if you had to leave your house because of flooding, what route would you take? What direction would you go? Make a kit means a survival kit. So you want to have enough food and water for every member of your family, don't forget the pets, for 2 to 3 days during a disaster.
And that means if you've got to stay put for a while, then you've got something to sustain yourself for at least a couple of days, 3 days.
That's right. And you also want to have battery-powered radios, flashlights, that kind of thing as well, in addition to the food.
Medicines on hand if need be.
Toiletries, yep.
Good. What kind of help is there for severe weather storm damage? What types of agencies can we count on to come in and help us out when we're doing the cleanup process?
Well, the American Red Cross is always very willing and is a really good resource for people in disaster planning. What we can do is we can sit down with you and your family and help go through a disaster plan, making sure that you know what should go in your disaster survival kit and that kind of thing. Homeland Security and local health and safety agencies are also really helpful in these areas.
So there's plenty of resources to go and call to, so be aware of what shelters are available in your area, what you need to have yourself and your family safe at home in case of any type of an emergency, severe storms, flooding, or any other nature for that matter. And then preparation is always the key. Have everybody in the family know the plan and practice the plan, right?
Right. You never know when a disaster is going to strike. What you can know is that you're prepared. So if you have that kit, if you have a plan, if your children know where the place is to go if something was to happen while they're at school, preparation is the key. You can't plan for the unexpected. Or you can't know when the unexpected is going to hit or affect you, but you can plan for it.
All right. Courtney, thank you very much for joining us on ECHO. We appreciate your information from the American Red Cross.
Thank you.
We've talked about a lot of things, but there are 3 key messages we'd like you to remember. Number 1, know the signs of severe weather. Number 2, find a safe place to shelter in your home, office, or school. And then number 3, know the difference between a weather watch and a weather warning, and know how to take action. Once again, we'd like to thank Courtney Johnson from the American Red Cross for joining us on this topic on severe weather. You've been watching ECHO. If you'd like more information about ECHO or its programs, please visit our website, echominnesota.org. For now, I'm your host, Lillian McDonald. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time.
ECHO TV is a co-production of Minnesota's Emergency and Community Health Outreach Collaborative of health, safety, ethnic and nonprofit agencies, and TPT's Minnesota channel.